The air in the dust-grimed outpost was thick with the smell of dry wood, horse sweat, and smoke. Circling a roughed-up auction stand, merely planks nailed to retired wagon crates, a line of men. Rough hands, hollow eyes, hungry hearts, the sort of place where decency forgot to stop. A man in a tattered vest and a rusty deputy badge slammed his gavel on a post. "All right, last one for today," he bellowed. "She ain't got no name, ain't shown her face. Sack over her head since Missouri. Says she can work. Says she'll obey. Startin' bid, $2. Laughter burst through the heat like a whip. "Maybe she's a witch underneath," one man taunted. "Or a corpse," another snarled. "She's no good if she won't even talk," the auctioneer grumbled. On the platform was a barefoot girl, dusty and motionless. Twine wrapped around her wrists. Sackcloth over her head was stained and secured tightly around her neck. Her breathing was panicked, irregular, shallow, hardly held in check. No one came forward. Not initially. Then the crowd split like water. A tall figure moved forward. Broad shoulders, wearing a canvas coat, his face hidden under a black hat. Boots heavy with mud. His hands rough from a life with trees rather than humans. $2, he said. There was silence. "You sure, mister?" the auctioneer asked. "I said what I said. You don't want to inspect what you're purchasing?" The man glanced at the quiet, covered-up figure. "I ain't buying a face. I'm marrying a person." No one laughed this time. The auctioneer swallowed. "Name? Silas Boone. Lumberman. Northridge." The man signed the marriage contract without flinching. Then the auctioneer turned to the woman. "You're now legally wed, miss. Say your name for the record." The sack shifted. A breath. A whisper. "Annabelle Crow." Silas froze. His eyes widened just for a moment. A voice from 3 winters ago echoed in his mind. A cave. A fire. Bloody snow. And a woman who had once saved his life. He stepped off the platform and took her gently by the arm. "You're safe now," he said. No one halted them. No one spoke. Just the metallic echo of boots on weathered planks, and the name that still shuddered in the space between them. The forest closed in around them, the path tightening under the towering pines. Light broke through the boughs as if it too was hesitant about coming nearer. Annabelle did not speak. The sack remained over her face. When the wind pulled at it, she straightened it immediately. Silas led, a mule behind him carrying their gear. He didn't look back. He didn't say anything, just gazed at the woods, as though waiting for something beyond wind. They arrived at the cabin in twilight. Dark pine built, it stood solid against a ridge. Chimney, woodpile, rusted horseshoe over the door. "You choose where you stand," Silas said softly. "No one's going to put you there anymore." She entered, crept across the wooden floor, and huddled against the wall, still dressed in the sack. Observing, Silas cooked at the stove. No questions, no orders, just the aroma of cinnamon, smoked flesh, and something so hot she could recall it. Once done, he put a bowl in front of her. She jerked but did not look. And then finally, "What is this?" she whispered. "I call it the last one standing meal," he said. "Used to make it after being out in the woods all day. Then began making 2 bowls, even when nobody else was home." Her breath caught. He nodded at the second bowl. "I used to leave it for my wife. After the war. After the trees gave up more than they got back. Now I leave it for you. And for her." Annabelle ate silently, spoon beneath the sack, each bite cautious, but she consumed the whole thing. In the evening, while Silas washed the bowls, she remained wrapped by the wall. But she no longer shook. Later, by the time the flames spat and the shadows crept up the cabin walls, Silas sat alone in front of the hearth. The memory came back to him. 3 years ago, bundled up in a snowstorm, his leg tangled, snow covering him like a grave. He had given up, till someone pulled him into a cave. A woman, sack over her head, scuffed boots, calm hands. "You don't have to know who I am," she said. "But I'm not going to let you die." She gave him pine bark tea, bandaged his wounds, and tended the fire. He never saw her, only heard her, soft, weary, indelible. When he awoke, she was gone. Only the fire still burned, and a cloth tidily folded. Purple flowers, mismatched thread. He still had it, and now that same voice was in his house, saying the name she'd never spoken. Annabel Crow. He did not tell her. Not that evening. But he knew. The following morning, the woods were quiet. Annabel emerged and went to a pine tree on the periphery of the clearing. She sat down at its base. Gradually, she unknotted the knot behind her neck. The sack rose, just enough for the wind to brush against her skin. Not defiance. A beginning. Silas, lubricating his saw in the side yard, spoke softly. I got hurt bad once. Deep winter. Should have died. Someone found me, drug me into a cave. She wouldn't come out from behind a blanket of fur. Wouldn't give her name, but I recall her voice. Annabel didn't turn around, but the sack fell from her head. She turned to face him. There was a long, curved scar that stretched from her temple to her jaw. Not new, not bleeding, but deep. A claw mark from a life that had attempted to wipe her out. He did not blink. Neither did she. Within the cabin, she spoke the truth. My room if I provided extra, she said. I refused. He didn't take kindly to that. She glared over his shoulder into the past. He attacked me. I defended myself. He fell, headed for the stove. He died. I ran. She gazed at her hands. They said I enticed him, that I planned it. No one was there. No one believed me. She shook. They sold me to settle his debt, passed me from man to man, covered my face so I could be forgotten. She stared at the sack. I wore it so people would not stare at me like I was poisoned. I didn't ask to be rescued. I didn't ask to be purchased. But I'm done hiding. Silas didn't reach out to her. He nodded. Thank you, he said. You didn't have to say it. But you did. The following morning, she discovered something on the table. A tiny silver mirror and a worn green scarf, soft, frayed, once treasured. No note, no directions, just left there as if it had always been there. She gazed at the mirror, felt the scar. But for the first time, she didn't wince. She tied the scarf around her head, not to conceal, but to decide. Not shame, identity. Silas moved into the doorway. That belonged to my wife, he said. She wore it when she wanted to feel like herself again. Annabel looked at him. Anyone who attempts to make you blush at what you've endured, he said, is blind. And the blind aren't allowed to judge beauty. She smiled. Tears brimmed, warm and gentle. And for the first time in a very, very long time, Annabel Crow let someone see. But peace didn't last forever. Trouble rode in under a storm-dark sky. A bounty hunter, lean, cold-eyed, went by the name of Cutter. He wasn't a drifter. He was a tracker. And he was hunting a girl with a scar, and a lumberman protecting her. Silas encountered him by the shed. One look and he knew. A snake, coiled before striking. That night Silas came back home. He's hunting you. Annabel did not shake. She opened a trunk, drew out the sackcloth, folded and unmouched. I'll wear it again, she said. You don't have to. This time I decide. Not out of shame, out of strategy. They worked it out. She would ride east, alone in the sack. Cutter would trail behind. Silas would take the loop through the pass, meet up with the sheriff. It worked. Cutter pursued her up into the hills. Silas and the sheriff ambushed him. The bounty hunter was arrested and charged with illegal pursuit and attempted murder. It wasn't until after Cutter left that Annabel took off the sack. She folded it deliberately. It saved me for the final time, she explained. Not because it concealed me, but because I used it. Do you want to do something with it now? Silas asked. She gazed at the trees. I'll hold on to it, not as a cage, as proof. Proof of what? She smiled. That even what was once my prison can be my shield. Weeks passed and a woman knocked on the cabin door. Weathered, eyes worn but compassionate. Mavis Green, she said, used to work at the Ridley house. Annabelle moved forward. I saw what happened that night, Mavis said. Saw him pull you. Heard you cry out. But I kept silent. I was afraid. I'm not proud of it. But I can make it now. Over tea, Mavis told it all. Signed a sworn affidavit. Sent it to the judicial office. Weeks went by. The woods grew green. The air grew warm. One morning, the sheriff came riding in with a letter. Charges dropped. Case closed. Annabelle read it over and over. Then she strolled on over to the pine tree and sat beneath it. For the first time in my life, she breathed. I don't have to run. Justice had arrived. Not with trumpets, but with truth. Spring came quietly. Trees budded like promises. The mist thinned. Birds sang once more. Silas constructed a wedding arch outside the cabin. Simple, strong. They had only a few guests. Annabelle wore a simple muslin gown. And over her hair, made from sackcloth, was a veil. Soft, embroidered with wildflowers. She had taken what once shamed her and made it holy. As she walked into the arch, Silas took her hands. No matter what was on your face, he told her. You were always the woman I chose. And now, she replied, smiling, I am the woman who chooses you. There was no clergy. No pump. Only vows said in the language of survival. And when they kissed, the wind picked up softly, like a blessing. That evening, Annabelle traced the embroidered veil. This once meant everything I dreaded. Silas gazed at her. Now, she smiled. Now it means everything I elected. They sat hand in hand as night fell and stars appeared. And the forest, which had been their prison, now kept them in its folds like home. Because out there in the Wild West, survival wasn't merely a matter of holding on. It was deciding what to hold on to. Thanks for the ride with us on this tale of redemption, strength, and quiet loyalty. If this tales move your heart, subscribe to the Wild West Tales. Tap the bell so you never miss the next story.